This movie is part of the Christianity Explained by an Atheist series of videos. This episode is Jesus, Who's Your Father? Part 2, whereby we investigate the reason for the divergence between the two lineages given for Jesus in the New Testament. Returning to the genealogies of Jesus, biblical literalists are embarrassed by the fact that the two genealogies, one in Matthew and the other in Luke, are different from one another, but they are different in nature. Matthew's list is a list of Davidic kings down through King Joseph to Jesus, whereas Luke's list is a true genealogy of Jesus' biological descendants. Women are not generally listed in the genealogies, as the Jews believed that the male planted his seed into the female, where it took root and grew, rather than a belief in sperm and egg reproduction. For this reason, and probably others too, the Jewish society was patriarchal and the royal lineage followed the male line. The text on the screen demonstrates that a genealogy in the Gospels can refer to a functional relationship as an alternate to just the parent-sibling relationship. John 12:4 states, "Then saith one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, which should betray him." In this quote, Judas is said to be Simon's son, but Judas is not Simon's biological son. Judas was the deputy priest in the organisation known as the 12 Apostles, Simon being the chief priest. So there was no impediment to interpreting Matthew's list as a list of Davidic kings. The Davidic kings may have lost leadership of the country of Judah or Israel along the way, but they maintained their leadership in the Jewish religion. In the Dead Sea Scrolls we find that the Essenes had two messiahs, a messiah of Aaron and a messiah of Israel, the position of the messiah of Israel being filled by the Davidic king. The list in Luke and the list in Matthew seem to converge with Jesus' great-grandfather, Mattan, or Mattat being an alternate spelling. Whilst the two lists appear to diverge again, the divergence is only an illusion. Heli is Jesus' grandfather's given name, whereas Jacob is his religious name. He is the new Jacob of the New Covenant, which started the process that led to the New Testament. So Heli is in fact Jacob. Previously, Jews entered the Jewish religion by birth. When King Herod came to the throne, many Jews were no longer living in Israel or Judea. He introduced baptism into the New Covenant as a way of raising revenue. He was able to sell Jewish religious names to Jews to revitalise the religion. This included Hellenized Jews from the diaspora, in other words, those that lived outside of Israel. The New Covenant became an umbrella organisation that tied the various Jewish religions together. It sat on top of the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and the Essenes. Hillel, the Pharisee leader, was tasked with leading the group, and became known as the new Abraham. Menahem, the Essene from Samaria, was appointed as the new Isaac, and Heli, the Davidic king, was appointed as the new Jacob. The fact that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were contemporary leaders at the beginning of the Gospel period is supported in the following text. Matthew 8:11 states, "And I say unto you, that many shall come from the east and west, and shall sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven." Note that the kingdom is earthly, as it is of heaven, not in heaven. John 8:57 says, "Then said the Jews unto him, Thou art not yet 50 years old, and hast thou seen Abraham?" The inference is that if he had been 50 years old, he may have seen Abraham. That is, of course, the new Abraham. As an alternate to explain the conflict between the two genealogies, some have proposed that the list in Matthew may be a genealogy for Mary and not Joseph, and Luke's a genealogy for Joseph. However, we can reject this hypothesis on three grounds. 1. Matthew's list does not claim to be a list for Mary. 2. It violated the patriarchal lineage test. And 3. Given that Heli is Jacob, Mary and Joseph would be brother and sister. Conclusion to Part 2. 1. Jewish society was patriarchal. 2. King Herod introduced the New Covenant, which was a religious umbrella organisation. He also used it to bring in money from inside and outside of Israel for public works, nominally called the Temple Fund. 3. In the New Covenant, Jesus' grandfather Heli was made the new Jacob. 4. Mary's lineage is not given in the New Testament. 5. Matthew's genealogy is actually a list of Davidic kings. And 6. Luke's genealogy is a list of Jesus' male descendants, in keeping with a patriarchal society.